I was staggering, my eyes were turning. I was obviously coming down with something. So the doctor was not yet on seat, but by the time the nurses saw how I came in, and immediately the doctor heard that, he said, put her on admission, put her on admission. So they admitted me. So hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's Chilo here once again. As always, I'm trying to get really comfortable because this is a story time. So I was just thinking, I realized that you guys really like my story times. I had my video about my worst experience in Japan. You guys were saying, Chilo, you can gist, sha, you can gist, sha, you can gist, sha. That's one part of this story. Another part was I was going through my video ideas. You guys know I say it a lot that I have video idea notes pad on my phone, and I saw a couple of videos, this one in particular that I had not done. I was supposed to do it 6 months after my wedding because it's like a wedding gist and all, but then I got really busy. But then now we are gradually getting into the wedding period. If you're Nigeria, you know what I'm talking about. This is the time where so many people are doing ibanku, so many people are planning their wedding, and I just said to myself that it's never too late for people to learn from my mistakes, especially because some of these things are not just peculiar to just me, right? I religiously followed someone's wedding series, and I found out that this person had almost the same issues I had. So all this long introduction to say that welcome to a story time about untold stories, things that happen leading up to the wedding, even after the wedding, all this thing. When you see wedding thriller, you'll be like, such a perfect wedding, or you see pictures, such a perfect wedding and all, but you really don't know what people went through behind the scenes. And that's what today's video is about. I would share it like a story because I want you guys to get really comfortable, but please pick the lessons you can pick. So let's get right into this video. Guys, I actually got engaged 2021, August 2021. You guys remember that my going back, that I surprised my family, people were crying, my mom. That was the trip I actually got engaged. And it was also on that trip that my husband surprised me with the news that he got an offer here in Japan, which was when we said, okay, we'll have our wedding, right? So after the engagement, now we're like, okay, when are we going to do this wedding? And we looked at everything. We're like, it's best to have it in 2022, which was the following year. So I came back to Japan September ending of 2021, right? And because at that time I was engaged, I had met his parents, he had met some important people except my parents and my family, although my mom knew about him. And also it was a case of, okay, yeah, this is happening and all. So from that time, we started to think about, how we wanted the occasion to be. One thing I knew I really wanted was to use a wedding planner because, guys, I know and I knew how busy life in Japan was for me. I knew that it was going to be difficult combining studies and planning a wedding all by myself and then being far away in Japan, 8 hours difference. Now the initial plan was we're going to have a big trad and a big white. Along the line we moved to, okay, should we do joint, 2 events in one day? Along the line again we moved to saying, okay, let's do an intimate trad and then a big white. Now, at the point or at the time when we're thinking we're going to have a big trad and a big white, I reached out to this amazing planner up until when we changed our mind to having an intimate trad and all. So we didn't use her again. But then we ended up still using a planner for our white wedding and some parts of our trad, which was GMRA's amazing human being in my life, and a planner, an amazing wedding planner. Was it February of 2022? Hobby went to see my parents. At that time, initially, the borders in Japan were beginning to, relax. So we actually thought he was going to be in Japan March of 2022. So we're like, oh, he needs to see my people fast. After seeing them now, Japan and their fear for COVID, I mean, the whole world was scared about the whole thing again in 2022 beginning. Borders shut down to new visa holders and all, he couldn't enter again. Now, at that point, guys, Me and my coconut head, I was like, I want to move the wedding. I want to move the wedding. Let's move the wedding. Because I really wanted us to fly back to Nigeria together, so that while we are here together planning the wedding, it's going to be easier having your person. Any brouhaha that is happening behind the scene, two of us will be here to bounce it off each other. That was my idea before, the whole no new visa holders can enter happened. It took a lot of convincing, a lot of tears, a lot of, conviction before I was like, okay, you know what, there's no need to be dramatic to cancel the wedding. So the wedding was fixed for September 2022, and then the traditional wedding was actually ending of August 2022, right? So based on that idea and that logistics, I had to be in Nigeria August of 2022. Thankfully, I didn't have to do the calling or the calling vendors. My planner was explicitly amazing for that. Like, she really helped shield me from a lot of stress of that. So fast forward now, I tried to sort myself out in Japan because I really didn't want to go back with work. I didn't want to go back with school. I wanted to go back for wedding and shut down anything Japan. So that puts me on a lot of stress, coupled with the fact that you guys know that we're planning wedding. You will have two families to consider, you have two set of friends, you have two different individuals. So there was a little brouhaha here and there. And I'm the kind of person that if you leave me alone, I don't mind having my wedding on a mango tree. So everything was just doing me like, what's up with all this stress? If you leave me alone, I'm a very simple person, guys. You guys know that one by now. I don't like stress. So my flight was booked. I booked my flight to Nigeria for August. I landed Lagos, Nigeria, August. At the time, Hobby was had a base in Lagos, so it made sense that my first stop was in Lagos, and we still had some unfinished business, like pre-wedding photo shoot. We still had, I think we agreed that we're going to buy some things together in Balogun, like our souvenirs and any other miscellaneous that I wanted to buy by myself and not leave for my planner or leave for my mom, because my mom too was very helpful. So I landed Lagos. Then how we planned it was in a way that we tried so much to shield me, especially from stress. When I have intense stress, my immune system just, so we tried so much to shield me from stress. So one of the things we agreed was, before we do the whole Balogun market or anything, Lagos traffic, we are going to do pre-wedding photo shoot first, so that at least that one is out of the list and we are not looking stressed in our pictures too. So these are salient tips to, in case you're a bride or a groom flying in from outside Nigeria to Nigeria. These are things you can still try to pick for yourself. Do your pre-wedding photo shoot first before you now start fittings. This one, stress starts showing on your face. The photographer was actually a recommendation, so the studio was actually on the mainland. So because of that, we planned everything in a way that we should be in mainland as soon as I land. So I landed, we lodged on the mainland, I booked a makeup artist around the mainland axis. The studio was in the mainland axis. We didn't have to go back to Hobby's side in on the island and all, so that there's no stress. So you see how we're trying to mitigate stress. The shoot came, the shoot went. It was splendid. It was amazing. My pre-wedding photos are still one of my best photos so far from the whole location. So after that one was out of the way, right? Next thing was, let's now do all the waka we want to do, go to Balogun, go to, what are those big markets in Lagos? And you guys remind me, I've forgotten, because so it was so stressful. But I didn't feel the stress, because I remember, that's the funny thing about the human body. I know people will go back to Nigeria and, it takes a while to adjust. I think my adjustment starts mentally. As soon as my plane is landing Lagos, there's a part of my brain that is like, maybe because I served the Lagos, like I'm awake for the Lagos life. Because I remember when we went to that, was it Balogun? I've forgotten the market, around that CMS side. My husband was like, he was thinking I'm going to be the one always yawning. But see the way he's trying to catch up with me, guys. I folded my trouser. I was like, which side did they say we are going to see this one? Where is souvenir line? If you see me, if somebody told you that this girl CAC, even people say CAC, If somebody told you that this girl came back from somewhere, you will not believe it too. If you see me in the market, my husband was just looking at me like, are you sure? Are you sure you just came back? I didn't really feel the whole thing. We finished with that, and the agreement was I was going to go back to Cross River where my parents are based and follow them for the trad. I mean, it's only respectful to do that. It didn't make sense that I would be going from Lagos for my traditional wedding, not with my parents. Do you get me? I mean, I'm not yet out of their house. That was one reason. The second reason was I sold my traditional wedding outfits in Cross River with my mom's recommended tailor, so I needed to do fittings for the outfit. On the other hand, I sold my reception dress, my bridal robe in Lagos, so that's some of the things I also did after the pre-wedding shoot. So after Lagos waka, the next thing was Cross River waka. But in Cross River, I can't really say I was very stressed. It was just that fittings and then making my hair and all that. The hair was the same person that did my wedding hair. It was a package, traditional wedding hair and then white wedding. So I did my hair in Cross River, that gel up. And everybody was telling me then, because we traveled to the village almost a week to the occasion. Everybody was telling me, the hair was scattered. I said, me scatter. No, I'm going to carry from here because I did not want anything. I didn't really know how Onitsha vendors, I'm from Anambra now. I don't know. I really don't know. I wanted to only use a makeup artist in that axis. So fast forward, traditional wedding, we traveled to Anambra. Now that 1 week, my family members were also very considerate. They were trying to shield me from stress. Don't do this, drink only bottled water, flee to the house, prevent mosquito, wear this, wear long socks. Like, everybody was very, very understanding. So the occasion came. The occasion went. Guys, if you saw my traditional wedding video, you attest to the fact that I danced. I shake body. Like, I was dancing, I was shaking body, I danced. All my occasions, I danced. So if you know anything about the Igbo culture, you guys know I'm Igbo, you know that after traditional wedding, after paying your bride price, you are actually married. You're traditionally married. So you can choose to go with your husband, or you can stay back depending on the agreements you have with your husband and your in-laws. Now, my in-laws also, just like my parents, were like, anything people want to do, people can do. My husband and I decided that we're going to lodge. We will not stay my parents' side, we will not stay his side, all in the name of trying to shield us from stress. People, you know why I'm laughing. Very soon you see how everything still backfired, right? So after the traditional wedding, I was dancing and entering the car with my husband. I remember somebody was even still spraying me money. I was still dancing, entering inside the car, and I eloped. So you know how village can be now, not in a bad way, but come and greet this person, and we're trying to get as much rest as possible, because we knew we had 3 occasions in the space of 1 month. I had to still come back to school, so I wanted to conserve as much energy as possible. Okay, I went with hubby and we lodged somewhere. Place we lodged shared a fence with a hospital. Now, guys, when we lodged, I remember the first day we were fine. The second day, when we had news that my brother was back, from the village, because my elder brother stays in the east. We're like, okay, let's go and visit him and his wife. So we went, we dined. But one thing I noticed was that I was having severe cough. I don't know where that cough came from. I was coughing, it was dry, my chest was tight. At several points, it started like a little tickle in my throat. So I would also and clear it. After a while, it became more intense. So while I was in my sister-in-law's house, she was like, what's the problem now? You're coughing. I was like, I don't know. She went inside, brought kola nut, brought honey, those traditional things that help with relieve cough and all. I chewed me that don't like cola nut, I mean bitter cola. I chewed it, and we went back to our hotel. We went back. The cough did not go. And the next morning, I woke up slightly feeling a certain kind of way. And because we shared fence with a private hospital, my husband was like, okay, since we are strolling, we are going now, we're not really doing much this period. We gave ourselves like 5 days to rest before we go to Cross River we had pre-wedding classes to meet up with, counseling. So he was like, okay, let's go to the private hospital and run some tests. Also, because in my church, I'm Anglican. So in my diocese, it's expected that you do a lot of tests: genotype, blood group, HIV, hepatitis, even pregnancy. So many tests, before they wed you. So he was like, let's go and do you maybe malaria and typhoid and use the opportunity and run all these other tests too, just to know our stance before we go to church. Don't get me wrong, I already knew my genotype. He already knew his. I knew my blood group. He knew his. We knew all these things. But that point of let's not go and hear another story when we reach. Let's also double check. Nothing has changed between when we knew it and now. So it was a nice idea. I was like, okay, no problem, let's go. The hospital was not far now. We went to the private hospital. They drew blood from both of us. So for his own, it was all the tests that they were going to do in church, except pregnancy, of course. For my own, it was all the tests, including malaria and typhoid. And the lab guy was like, okay, that we're going to get the result the next day by 12 noon. That day was still like morning or afternoon. Towards the evening time, I started feeling, feverish. I started feeling like I was running temperature, but me, I didn't want to take it seriously. I was like, it's not that deep. Then he was like, okay, while waiting for the result, let's go to a pharmacist, because the sister was like, there is this big pharmacist that they can even give me malaria injection, malaria drug, all those kind of things, while waiting for that result the next day. We went there, we did all those things, and then we went back to the hotel. Ate dinner, watched movie, did everything, and slept. Now, I can't remember everything that happened because it was now from this part now was my husband telling me what happened. So according to him, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, baby, can you help me with water? I'm very thirsty. He was like, okay. And I specified cold water. There was no cold water in our fridge, so he called the receptionist. This was like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. thereabout. According to him, I finished one. Entered this. I sure drank a lot of water. And he said he just stood there looking at me like, just wake up at night. And I was still closing my eyes, sleep. I want water. I'm thirsty. So I kept drinking water. Obviously, I was dehydrated. I woke up to use the washroom. I woke up to ease myself. Came back again. Eased myself. So I was sweating profusely and I was going to the washroom and I was drinking water. So all those were signs of dehydration. Something was not right. So I remember the last time I wanted to use the washroom, I saw my husband just sitting down on the table looking at me. And I now thought, I was like, why are you just looking at me? He was like, I don't know what it is, but you're not fine. As my husband was sitting down and watching me throughout the night, he was blasting in prayers. Like, I heard my guy say, Father, in the name of Jesus, I will not lose her. Like, it was his prayers that made me realize that I must really be acting weird for this amount of prayers to be going on in this room. Because he was like, what am I going to tell your people? When I took you from your village, you were dancing, shaking bum bum, shaking your body. To the best of your family's knowledge, you are perfectly fine. So this conversation that we are having now, I'm not understanding it. It was when I stood up to take my first step, I knew he was right. I was staggering. My eyes were turning. I was obviously coming down with something. And this was around 6 or so. Around 7, my husband was not patient again. He couldn't wait. I could barely walk. I was thirsty. I was so weak. He even had to order a ride because hospital that was sharing fence with us, I couldn't even walk there. We drove to the hospital. The doctor was not yet on seat. But by the time the nurses saw how I came in, I was still with my nightgown. The only thing I did was I wore a leggings under and then I tied a scarf because I was always tying that scarf here because I was trying to preserve that my gel. So they had to call the doctor. They called him that there was an emergency and then he came and then he called us in. He was trying to ask us some questions. I couldn't answer anything. I was so weak. My husband was the one doing all the answering. She doesn't live in Nigeria for about 4 years now. And immediately the doctor heard that. He said, put her on admission while waiting for that. In short, expedite the results. I was not understanding, like, why was he trying to exaggerate? And the man was like, first of all, your immune system has given way, like, you're obviously very stressed. At that point, we're like, stressed from where? Like, I have tried my best not to go through any stress. And then he was like, stress is not only physical, stress is mental, which is guys, if you're doing a PhD, you know that first of all, it's not easy. So he was like, no matter how no matter the planner you're using, planning a wedding and occasion, you still have an amount of stress that you would encounter. He said that's first things. Secondly, someone that has not been in the country for 4 years, you're treated with, how did he call it, priority malaria infection, something like that is how he called it. And we're like, what does that mean? He was like, you have malaria, but the reason it is so bad is because you no longer have resistance to malaria in your system. At that point, I was like, this man don't know what he's saying. Me, malaria will bring me down like this. Odeshi. Me, that is an Odeshi of malaria when I was in the country. Malaria, do we just got me Pialaxine, got me this one. I told him it cannot be malaria that is bringing me down like this. And the man explained and said, malaria lasts in the body, or the plasmodium lasts in the body for about 6 months. And after 6 months, is it your liver or your lungs, recycles it and you no longer have malaria resistance. So as it stands now, the malaria is going really far with me. And that if you walk out of this hospital because you doubt me, don't come back when it's now an emergency, because the last time it happened, according to him, next time they rushed the man dead, and he doesn't want that to happen again in his hospital. The minute we heard rushed dead, my husband was like, where is the bed? Where are you keeping the bed? Wife that I just married last week, yesterday. So the man called the lab scientists that anything you're doing with that result, the other ones they asked you to do, okay, fine. But you see that malaria and typhoid, please give me the result ASAP. I can't wait till 12. We need to know what's going on. But in the meantime, he told the nurses to put me on hydration and something that will help me sleep, because from the way my husband explained it, I barely slept. So they admitted me. He called his people, like my in-laws. My mother-in-law was panicking. What did you say is wrong with her? Somebody's daughter, somebody that we just brought from her village, hale and hearty. No way. They are coming now. Where is the hospital? He asked me, should I call your mom? I say never. My mother was no. I just told you. That funny enough, guys, my mom just heard this story as she visited. I decided that it was time to tell her, at least she see me hale and hearty. Because if you told my mom that kind of thing over the phone, she would panic. So my in-laws came. I didn't even know when they came because I was sleeping. I was knocked up. According to my husband, the results came out and it was a very high malaria. The doctor was like, they are not going to do injection or drugs because it might not really go and hit the malaria in my system. That what they are going to do is they are going to do intravenous, your veins sharp to the system. Let's nip this thing in time. But along the line, guys, we're able to strike a deal with the hospital because we're not sure of the condition, to sleep over, especially since we are treating malaria to prevent mosquitoes and all. We're like, okay, let's sleep in the hotel since they are sharing fence, and then we'll always be coming back for the intravenous or the injections and the drugs. So I was always with a cannula. So because of that cannula, I said there was no way I was going to go back to Cross River with a cannula on my hand. What will I tell my mother? What is doing me that I have cannula on my hand? So we had to shift our going back to Cross River. We shifted it a bit again. I remember my mom calling and quarreling. What is going on? Which kind of thing is this one? Church is already asking a few people, come for your counseling. My mother did not know that her daughter was struggling. And that's also why some people have a grudge against me or a grievance against me that I didn't tell them I was getting married, not understanding that life was happening to me behind the scenes. So the day they removed the cannula was the day we decided to go back to Cross River. And I remember when I went back, I was, because they gave me follow-up drugs. My mom was always asking me, why are you taking all these drugs? I was like, it's for prevention. I remember the doctor telling my husband then he should try to prevent me from stress so that my system doesn't break down again. But the honest truth was, I wasn't even going through so much stress, so I thought. Fast forward to like a few days to my wedding, I was fine, I was okay. I went to do my nails. You guys know I've been talking about vendors that I liked. You see my nail vendor, I did not like that nail at all. At some point, I was just angry. I could have used the nails I did from Japan and use it for my wife because it was still very fresh. There was nobody that did not compliment that my nail I brought back from Japan. That nail was giving. So I don't know how that guy filed my nail. It was painful. So I started running temperature again. I remember my husband telling me, "You're running temperature." I even remember when my elder brother came into town, he hugged me and he cornered my husband one side and said, "Your wife is running temperature again." Oh. Because yeah, I don't know, the story is now all over the place. While I was hospitalized, in Imo State, my husband called my brother. So at least, of course, somebody in the family had to know what was going on with me. So my brother visited. I remember the day my brother visited in the hotel and saw me with cannula. He started laughing like, was it not just you that was dancing and causing a scene in the village? What's up? What's going on here? Even now we were gisting my mother this year. My mother she was just looking at us like, it's a lie, it's not true. Because the way I even danced in my white wedding, you will not believe that this story is what happened. My mother was like, hey, she was telling my husband that you are lucky he did not call me because you would have explained to us. So my brother knew. So when he noticed, fast forward to when he noticed again almost the whites that I was running temperature, he told my husband that. My husband was like, yeah, he thinks it's the nails. I still had very intense cough. My cough was not shaking. It was not even going. I tried cola nuts, ginger, everything. Even tried orthodox main drugs. Went to our family pharmacist. He's prescribed antibiotics. It was not good. As if that one was not enough. My teeth were, like you guys know, I've said before, I have a dentist here in Japan because I started having teeth issues in 2021. I was far from my dentist. I went and I could not be talking about removing my teeth the week of my wedding. So I was just like, anything to just help me subside the pain for the occasion. When I come back to Japan, first things first, me and my dentist will have to have a conversation. What's going on? I thought you've treated me, So yeah, so many things, guys. Another thing that happened, so many things happened though. Another thing that happened was my reception dress tore while I was dancing. I was always trying to pull the net up or so because I felt like the bra I wore was different from what I used to test. So there was a lot of cleavage going on and I was not comfortable. Before my reception dress tore. Another funny thing that happened was on my wedding morning, I ate swallow, I ate gari because I told myself that I wasn't going to eat in the reception. I wanted to dance and I wanted something to hold my stomach. That one is TMI. It's not really part of what I wanted to gist you guys. But yeah, guys, I actually got really sick after my trad during my wedding period and all. Now the major takeout point from all this is because I felt I've watched 2 people's wedding series now that went back for their wedding and they had cough, they had malaria and all. So the major thing I'm going to say is as much as possible, please be very careful with what you take into your system. Change in environment has a lot it does to the body, the water you drink, the food you eat, and all that. Now when it comes to malaria, some people say there is a vaccine you can take before reaching Nigeria. Some people say when you reach Nigeria, take drugs, just prevention, just have a malaria drug in your system. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not in any position to advise, but I would say talk with a doctor, speak with a doctor, especially if you're going for an occasion where you cannot afford to be sick. Because imagine if that thing happened on my wedding morning, like what would be the explanation? That's the major takeout. You guys know me now. I'm not really only a do-only story time kind of person. There must always be a lesson to learn from that story. So please, in this season of wedding, I wish everybody the best, but please, as much as possible, keep your health in mind, minimize the stress as much as possible on your end. Eat well, sleep well, stay hydrated, also pray. Another thing I know I did very well was I was praying about the occasion. I kept telling God, I'm going to be happy, I'll be healthy, I'll be well, I'll be fine, whatever it is. I even remember during the Hallelujah Challenge, I kept saying it, I'll be a happy bride, I'll be a healthy bride. Pray, drink water, mind your business, follow up your health. I really, really do hope that this video helps someone. And guys, people should tell me if you like my stories, my gist. Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful. See you next time on Chilotalks. Bye for now, guys.